chosen one. The spiritual realm is moving against those who betrayed you. The enablers who ignored your pain are experiencing anxiety attacks they can't explain, insomnia that won't respond to medication, and a growing sense of dread that follows them everywhere. You're about to discover why your darkest nights were actually evidence being gathered for this moment of reckoning. The same spiritual forces that preserved your sanity during systematic psychological warfare are now delivering judgment with surgical precision. Like a perfectly balanced scale tipping toward truth, their false peace is collapsing under the weight of accumulated guilt they can no longer suppress or rationalize away. These cowards are experiencing something beyond their worst nightmares. The karmic boomerang that left their hands when choosing betrayal over loyalty has been gathering devastating momentum. Every sleepless night you endured while comfortable in their beds added velocity to its return. Now it's striking with the force of accumulated injustice, and there's nowhere left to hide. Someone you trusted became the architect of your personal hell, chosen one. This wasn't random cruelty from a stranger. This was someone who had access to your heart, your vulnerabilities, your deepest fears. They didn't just hurt you and walk away. They studied you like a predator studies prey, mapping every emotional weakness for maximum devastation. They constructed an elaborate system designed to strip away your sense of reality piece by piece. Every cruel word was calculated. Every humiliation was orchestrated. Every moment they made you question your sanity was part of their master plan. They wanted to break you so completely that you would never recover, never fight back, never threaten their fragile ego again. But they made one fatal miscalculation. Deep within your core burned something they could never touch, an unshakable light that grew stronger under pressure. They saw this strength and it terrified them to their bones. Like a mighty tree standing among dying weeds, your presence made them feel insignificant and small. Instead of being inspired by your resilience, they declared war on your light itself. They couldn't bear to exist in the shadow of your natural greatness, so they chose the coward's path, attempting to drag you down to their level of spiritual poverty and emotional bankruptcy. What makes this betrayal even more sinister is how they weaponized your own compassion against you. They knew you were someone who cared deeply, who gave others the benefit of the doubt, who tried to see the best in people even when they showed you their worst. They took that beautiful quality, your capacity for love and understanding, and twisted it into a noose around your neck. Every time you made excuses for their behavior, you were unknowingly participating in your own destruction. When you rationalized their cruelty as stress or trauma or circumstance, you were giving them permission to continue the assault on your soul. They counted on your empathy to blind you to their malice, and for far too long it worked exactly as they planned. They perfected the art of making you feel guilty for their crimes against you. When you showed pain from their attacks, they made you feel selfish for not considering their feelings. When you defended yourself, they painted you as the aggressor. When you tried to set boundaries, they convinced you that you were being unreasonable. They turned your natural responses to abuse into evidence of your supposed dysfunction. While you bled in plain sight, others watched and made a choice. The enablers weren't innocent bystanders caught off guard. They were active participants who chose complicity over courage. These people shared your space, pretended to care about you, all while standing frozen like statues as someone systematically destroyed your peace. Their silence wasn't passive neglect, it was weaponized indifference that cut deeper than any direct attack. Each time they refused to acknowledge your reality, they added another brick to the prison wall that trapped you in isolation. They saw the evidence of your suffering and chose to protect themselves rather than protect you. Some were motivated by jealousy, so toxic it poisoned their basic humanity. Your strength, even while being tortured, reminded them of their own weakness. They couldn't stand watching someone endure what would have shattered them completely. Your resilience was a mirror reflecting their cowardice, and they hated you for showing them what real courage looked like. Others simply found it easier to look away than to confront uncomfortable truths about people they'd aligned themselves with. Acknowledging your abuse would have meant admitting they had power to intervene and chose not to use it. So they convinced themselves that your screams for help were somehow your fault, your pain was somehow deserved. But let's examine what was really happening in the minds of these silent accomplices, chosen one, because their motivations run deeper than simple cowardice. Many of them were living vicariously through your abuser's power. They got a sick thrill from watching someone with authority destroy someone they secretly envied. Your suffering became entertainment for their twisted psyches. These enablers created an invisible hierarchy where your pain was acceptable collateral damage for maintaining their social position. They calculated that supporting your abuser would benefit them more than defending you would cost them. In their diseased thinking, you became expendable, a sacrifice they were willing to make to preserve their own comfort and status. The most insidious ones among them actively participated in isolating you further. They spread whispers that questioned your credibility, planted seeds of doubt about your character, and painted you as the problem rather than the victim. They became willing participants in a campaign of character assassination designed to ensure no one would believe you, even if you found the courage to speak. They formed a protective circle around your tormentor, creating a fortress of denial that made escape seem impossible. Every time you tried to reach out, you encountered these human shields who deflected your pleas and redirected blame back onto you. They became extensions of your abuser's will, multiplying the damage far beyond what one person could inflict alone. The cruelest part wasn't the obvious abuse, it was how they systematically destroyed your ability to trust your own perceptions. They didn't just hurt you, they convinced you that you were imagining the hurt. They didn't just betray you, they made you believe you deserved every moment of betrayal. When you showed them proof of your suffering, they looked at you like you were delusional. Your wounds became evidence of your instability in their twisted narrative. Your tears were dismissed as manipulation. Your survival instincts were labeled as overreaction. They surrounded your abuser like a protective shield, not from ignorance but from calculated self-interest. This psychological warfare was surgical in its precision. They convinced you that your pain was pleasure, your truth was lies, your reality was fantasy. You found yourself apologizing for being hurt, minimizing your own suffering, accepting blame for crimes committed against you. They made you doubt your own memory, your own experiences, your own worth as a human being. This wasn't accidental. It was coordinated destruction, designed to make you complicit in your own torment. They needed you to believe their version of events, because your truth threatened to expose their entire house of lies. If you could trust yourself, validate your own experiences, their carefully constructed illusion would collapse completely. The gaslighting reached levels that would make professional manipulators envious. Chosen one, they didn't just deny your experiences, they created alternative histories where you were the villain in every scenario. They rewrote the past with such conviction that even you began to question what really happened during your darkest moments. They turned your natural reactions to trauma into symptoms of mental illness. When you cried, you were being dramatic. When you got angry, you were unstable. When you withdrew to protect yourself, you were antisocial. When you tried to explain what was happening, you were creating drama. Every healthy response to their unhealthy behavior became ammunition they used against you. The most diabolical part was how they used your own healing attempts as evidence of your dysfunction. If you sought therapy, you were admitting you had problems. If you read self-help books, you were clearly unstable. If you tried meditation or spiritual practices, you were escaping reality. They weaponized your efforts to recover from the damage they had caused. They created a lose-lose situation where any move you made toward health and wholeness was twisted into proof of your supposed mental illness. You were trapped in a maze where every exit led back to their version of reality, the version where you were crazy, problematic, and unworthy of basic human dignity. But the universe keeps perfect records. Chosen one, every act of cruelty, every moment of willful blindness, every choice to enable evil. It's all been documented in the cosmic ledger that never fails to balance its books. The spiritual laws that protected your inner flame during the darkest nights are now collecting payment from those who tried to blow it out. Right now, those who abandoned you are feeling the weight of their betrayal crushing down on them. The guilt they thought they could ignore has become a living thing, clawing at their peace, stealing their sleep, poisoning every moment they try to claim happiness. They're learning that you can run from truth, but eventually it catches up with devastating force. Their carefully managed lives are unraveling fiber by fiber. The ignorance that once shielded them from uncomfortable realities now chokes them with the truth they refuse to see. They look in the mirror and no longer recognize the person staring back, someone marked by the very pain they tried to deny. The karmic debt they accumulated through prolonged cowardice is now being collected with compound interest. They feel it in their bones, in their relationships, in the quiet moments when their defenses crumble. This isn't random misfortune. This is divine justice, serving papers for crimes against your soul. Watch how their karma manifests. Chosen one, because it's more poetic than any revenge you could have planned. The enablers who chose silence to preserve their relationships are watching those same relationships crumble under the weight of unspoken truth. The cowards who ignored your pain to maintain their peace are discovering that peace built on another's suffering is no peace at all. Their children are growing up to despise the weakness they witnessed in their parents. Their friends are distancing themselves as the truth becomes impossible to hide. Their partners are losing respect for people who could watch cruelty and do nothing. The very things they thought they were protecting by staying silent are being destroyed by their silence. Some of them are experiencing health problems that mirror the stress you endured alone. The anxiety they should have felt when witnessing your abuse is finally catching up with them, manifesting as panic attacks, insomnia, and mysterious illnesses that no doctor can fully explain. Their bodies are keeping score of the moral debt they accumulated. Your primary tormentor built their entire identity on the power they wielded over your reactions. They were addicted to the control they exercised over your pain, your responses, your very existence. To everyone else, they wore masks of charm and respectability while painting you as the problem, the unstable one, the cause of all disruption. But something beautiful is happening now. Your refusal to feed their addiction is starving them of the energy they need to maintain their performance. Without your emotional responses to validate their twisted sense of superiority, they're beginning to unravel like cheap fabric under pressure. The mask they wore so convincingly is developing cracks they cannot repair. Their polished act, once so believable to their audience, is slipping in ways they cannot control. They push harder, probe deeper, desperately seeking any reaction that would restore their feeling of dominance. But your silence speaks louder than any words you could offer. This drives them into increasing desperation. In their panic to regain control, they begin making mistakes that expose their true nature to anyone paying attention. The very people who once believed their lies are starting to see through the illusion. Their carefully crafted reputation is rotting from the inside out. What's fascinating to observe is how your abusers' desperation manifests in increasingly obvious ways. They start overcompensating, trying too hard to appear normal and likable to others. This forced charm comes across as fake and manipulative to people who are paying attention. They're working overtime to maintain an image that used to come naturally when they had your pain to feed their ego. They begin targeting new victims, but their techniques are sloppy now because they're operating from a place of panic rather than calculated cruelty. These new targets can sense something is wrong much faster than you did because they haven't been groomed and conditioned over time. The abuser's success rate plummets as their desperation becomes visible. You'll notice them making increasingly frantic attempts to provoke you back into the old dynamic. They might try love bombing, suddenly showering you with false affection and promises to change. When that fails, they escalate to more obvious manipulation tactics. When those fail too, they resort to threats, ultimatums and public displays designed to make you look like the unreasonable one. Every desperate move they make to regain control only exposes their true nature more clearly to observers. People who once bought their victim act are starting to see the predator underneath. Their mask isn't just slipping, it's disintegrating in real time, and they're powerless to stop it. The most satisfying part of divine justice is that you don't have to lift a finger. Your abuser and their accomplices are destroying themselves through their own toxic nature. Like parasites that eventually kill their host, their cruelty is consuming them from within. Starved of the emotional reactions that once fed their ego, the abuser is spiraling into increasingly visible desperation. They're showing their true colors to anyone with eyes to see. The lies they told about you are being exposed by their own frantic behavior. The narrative they created to make you look unstable is backfiring as their own instability becomes impossible to hide. The enablers are discovering that complicity comes with a price that must be paid. Some remain trapped in prisons of their own making, bound by the same fear that kept them silent. They see the truth now but refuse to admit it, because facing their own cowardice would shatter the fragile ego they've protected for so long. These spiritual cowards are frozen in the moment they chose betrayal over courage, and they cannot move forward. Their refusal to evolve is deepening their bitterness. They're stuck in webs of their own weaving, rotting in the jealousy that once motivated their cruelty toward you. Watch how their self-destruction accelerates. Your abuser, desperate to reclaim the power they once held over you, begins making increasingly reckless decisions. They might violate boundaries in ways that can't be ignored, forcing even their staunchest supporters to question their judgment. They might lash out at people who have nothing to do with your situation, revealing their true character to a wider audience. Their need for control becomes so consuming that they start alienating everyone around them. Friends grow tired of their constant drama and manipulation. Family members distance themselves from the toxic energy that follows wherever they go. Co-workers begin avoiding them as their workplace behavior becomes erratic and unprofessional. The enablers are experiencing their own form of karmic backlash. Those who stayed silent to preserve their social standing are watching that same social circle fragment as truth emerges. The relationships they thought they were protecting by not getting involved are dissolving anyway, because foundations built on lies and cowardice cannot support lasting connections. Some enablers are being forced to confront their own past traumas as they watch karma play out. Seeing consequences finally reach people who hurt others triggers memories of times when they were hurt and no one stood up for them. The pain they avoided feeling by staying silent in your situation is now demanding to be felt, creating internal chaos they can no longer suppress. The enablers who thought silence was safety are learning that neutrality in the face of evil is complicity, and complicity demands payment. Some are being crushed under guilt they can no longer rationalize away. Their comfortable lives are crumbling as consequences catch up like a tsunami of karma. They're discovering that the peace they thought they preserved by staying silent was never real. It was built on the foundation of your suffering. Now that foundation is cracking, and everything they built on it is collapsing. Their relationships strain under the weight of unspoken truth. Their consciences torment them with images of your pain they chose to ignore. Others remain trapped in pride and jealousy, still refusing to admit wrongdoing because it would destroy the self-image they've cultivated. They watch their lives fall apart and blame everyone except themselves. Seeing you rise from ashes they thought would bury you fills them with rage they cannot express and shame they cannot bear. The social circles that once provided validation for their cruelty are fragmenting. Fair-weather friends distance themselves as truth becomes undeniable. The protective bubble they created around your abuser is popping, leaving them exposed to consequences they thought they'd escaped forever. Professional networks are being disrupted as people's true character becomes visible. The enablers who stayed quiet in your situation are now seen as unreliable when moral courage is needed in workplace conflicts. Their lack of backbone in personal situations translates to weakness in professional contexts, limiting their advancement and influence. Community organizations are quietly distancing themselves from people whose cowardice has become known. Leadership positions are being reassigned to individuals with demonstrated integrity. The social capital these enablers thought they were preserving through silence is evaporating as people prefer to associate with those who stand up for what's right. Some enablers are experiencing what psychologists call moral injury, the deep psychological wound that occurs when someone violates their own moral code. Even though they convinced themselves at the time that staying silent was justified, their unconscious mind knows they failed a fundamental test of human decency. This inner conflict is manifesting as depression, anxiety, and a persistent sense of emptiness that no amount of rationalization can fill. While they self-destruct, you are becoming something magnificent beyond their comprehension. The fire meant to consume you has forged you into something unbreakable. Every attempt to dim your light has only made it burn brighter. Every effort to crush your spirit has revealed its indestructible nature. You stand now transformed, no longer a victim, but a warrior who emerged from wreckage stronger than ever before. The power they tried to steal is back in your hands where it belongs. You owe nothing to those who betrayed you. No explanations, no emotional labor, no more tears shed over their weakness. Your healing isn't just recovery, it's rebellion against everything they tried to program into you. They wanted you to care about their opinions, to flinch at their manipulations, to return to their web of control, but you've cut those strings forever. Every moment focused on your growth reclaims what was stolen. You take back your dignity, your peace, your connection to the divine force flowing through truly strong souls. The path ahead stretches bright with possibility, and you walk it free from the shadows of those who sought to diminish your light. Now, the following is a message meant exclusively for the chosen. If you are compromised by archonic forces, this is not meant for you, and by the spiritual authority conferred to us by the secret chiefs of the Obsidian Inner Order, we grant you license to depart. If not, steel yourself and listen intently, for you shall be redeemed even as we are redeemed. The Obsidian Inner Order is not a program, it's not a course, it's not some feel-good spiritual retreat. We don't sell answers, we remember together. We teach psychic self-defense, real energetic shielding against entities, implants and interference. We restore manifestation as it was meant to be, raw, immediate and exact. Every week we gather in secret, not to worship but to awaken, to speak what can't be said anywhere else, to deprogram the matrix layer by layer. You'll know if you're meant to be there, you'll feel it in your bones. The chosen meet every week on Zoom. Why aren't you with us yet? Got Gnosis? Join the Obsidian Inner Order, link in the description. The most profound transformation happening within you is the development of supernatural discernment. Having survived such elaborate deception, you now possess an almost mystical ability to detect dishonesty in others. Your intuition has been sharpened to a razor's edge through trial by fire. You can sense manipulation before it fully manifests, spot gaslighting in its earlier stages, and recognize false friends before they have a chance to betray you. This isn't paranoia or hypervigilance, this is evolved consciousness. You've learned to trust the wisdom that emerges from surviving psychological warfare. Your nervous system has been recalibrated to detect danger with precision that would amaze those who've never faced such sophisticated cruelty. What they meant to destroy has actually become your greatest asset. You're discovering gifts within yourself that never would have emerged without the pressure they applied. Like a diamond formed under extreme heat and pressure, your character has crystallized into something rare and valuable. The depth of compassion you now possess for other victims, the strength you can offer to those still trapped in similar situations, these are treasures born from your torment. Your ability to remain calm in chaos, to think clearly under pressure, to maintain your center when others are losing theirs. These are powers that can only be developed through surviving the kind of psychological assault you endured. You've been forged in fires that would have destroyed weaker souls, and what emerged is something truly formidable, now transformed, no longer a victim but a warrior who emerged from wreckage stronger than ever before. The power they tried to steal is back in your hands where it belongs. You owe nothing to those who betrayed you, no explanations, no emotional labor, no more tears shed over their weakness. The truth they buried is clawing its way back to the surface like a force of nature that cannot be stopped. Every lie they tell is being exposed by harsh reality. Every story they spun is unraveling as people witness their behavior with clear eyes. The mask lies shattered, and the world sees them for what they truly are. Your former tormentors' desperation grows more obvious daily. Without your reactions to feed their addiction, they're revealing their authentic nature to everyone. The charm that once fooled observers is wearing thin. Manipulation tactics that once worked effectively now appear transparent and pathetic. Former enablers are distancing themselves as truth becomes undeniable. The audience that once validated your abuser's performance is abandoning the sinking ship they helped build. Social protection is evaporating as people begin seeing through the carefully maintained illusions. Some former accomplices even reach out now with hollow apologies, seeking forgiveness they haven't earned and absolution they don't deserve. They want peace of mind. They forfeited when they chose convenience over courage, but your energy is too precious to waste on those who valued their comfort over your humanity. The most beautiful part of truth's emergence is how it validates everything you knew but were made to doubt. Chosen one, those moments when you questioned your own sanity, when their gaslighting made you wonder if you were imagining the cruelty, all of that inner turmoil is being resolved as reality proves you were right all along. The enablers are facing a particularly harsh form of exposure because their betrayal was a choice made with full knowledge of right and wrong. Unlike your abuser, who might claim mental illness or childhood trauma as excuses, the enablers have no justification for their cowardice. They were presented with a clear moral choice and failed spectacularly. Their attempts to rewrite history are falling flat because too many people witnessed their behavior firsthand. They can't claim they didn't know what was happening when multiple people remember them being informed and choosing silence. They can't pretend they were protecting you when their actions consistently supported your tormentor. The internet age has made their attempts to escape accountability nearly impossible. Their past behavior is documented in ways that previous generations never had to confront. Social media posts, text messages, emails, all of these create permanent records that contradict their revised narratives about their role in your suffering. You are no longer the person broken spirits tried to shatter, chosen one. You have transcended every limitation placed upon you, every lie told about your worth, every attempt to convince you that cruelty was deserved. You have become something untouchable, a force of nature, a beacon of authentic power. Your refusal to break became your greatest strength. Your light grows brighter with each forward step into the life you were meant to live. You are defined not by what was done to you, but by how you rose above it, how you transformed pain into power, how you alchemized suffering into wisdom. The universe prepared you for this recognition all along. Every trial was training, every betrayal was strengthening, every moment of agony was forging you into the unstoppable force you've become. You're not just a survivor, you're an overcomer, proof that darkness cannot defeat authentic light. Your story matters because it reminds other chosen ones of their own strength. Your voice cuts through silence, illuminating darkness for those still trapped in their own hells. By sharing truth and refusing to hide scars, you become hope for others fighting toward freedom. Your professional life reflects this inner transformation as well. The confidence born from surviving psychological warfare translates into unshakable self-advocacy in workplace situations. You negotiate from a position of knowing your worth rather than hoping others will recognize it. Your boundaries are crystal clear, and your ability to communicate them is both diplomatic and unyielding. The creative expressions flowing through you now carry a depth and authenticity that can only emerge from someone who has descended into hell and climbed back out. Whether through art, writing, music, business ventures, or simple daily interactions, there's a quality to your presence that speaks to something profound and unbreakable in the human spirit. You've developed what could be called spiritual immunity, the ability to remain centered and connected to your truth, regardless of external chaos or manipulation attempts. This isn't detachment or numbness, it's the powerful serenity that comes from knowing exactly who you are and refusing to let anyone else define your reality. Your intuitive abilities have been sharpened beyond what most people ever develop. You can sense dishonesty before words are spoken, feel manipulation energy before tactics are deployed, recognize authentic souls versus performance artists with laser precision. This heightened awareness isn't paranoia, it's evolved consciousness born from necessity and refined through experience. This isn't about revenge, chosen one. This is justice in its purest form. True justice lies not in their destruction, but in your transformation. You've become living proof that evil doesn't win, that darkness cannot overcome genuine light, that truth conquers even the most sophisticated lies. Victory isn't measured by their downfall, but by your transcendence. While they remain trapped in cycles of toxicity, you've evolved beyond their entire game. You've grown beyond their reach, beyond their understanding, beyond their ability to affect your reality in any meaningful way. The time has come to reclaim your voice and purpose. Let the world hear your story. Let your truth testify to survival, declaring that darkness never gets the final word in the lives of those who refuse to surrender their light. Alongside other chosen ones who walked through fire and emerged transformed, you become an unstoppable force for justice and healing. You're no longer bound by their games or lies or desperate attempts to drag you back into the chaos they created. You have transcended completely. You are free, powerful, and exactly who you were always meant to be. A chosen one whose light burns so bright it exposes all shadows and illuminates the path for others finding their way home to themselves. The victory is yours, the power is yours, the future is yours to create. Nothing they did can change the magnificent truth of who you have become. Your ultimate victory extends beyond personal healing into becoming a beacon for universal transformation. The very people who once enabled your suffering now serve as examples of what happens when someone chooses cowardice over courage. Their visible consequences become teaching tools for others facing similar moral choices. You've discovered that your greatest power lies not in fighting darkness, but in shining so brightly that darkness cannot exist in your presence. This isn't about becoming hard or cynical. It's about developing such profound inner strength that external manipulation attempts simply bounce off your energy field like arrows off armor. The legacy you're creating reaches far beyond your individual experience. Every person who witnesses your transformation is inspired to examine their own capacity for resilience. Every victim who sees your recovery finds hope for their own healing. Every potential enabler who observes the consequences faced by those who stayed silent thinks twice before choosing cowardice. Your journey from victim to victor has become a masterclass in human potential. You've demonstrated that the human spirit, when properly aligned with truth and justice, is absolutely indestructible. The same forces that were meant to destroy you have become the very powers that propel you toward a destiny greater than anything you could have imagined before your trials began. This is your moment of complete recognition, chosen one. You are no longer who you used to be, and you will never again be who they tried to make you. You have become something entirely new, a force of nature that stands as living proof that love, truth, and authentic power will always triumph over cruelty, lies, and false authority. The cowards who ignored your pain have received their karma, but more importantly, you have received your crown.